We all fear to die. Death comes to everybody and an inevitable part of life, but we hope at least we could prepare for it, including saying proper goodbye to people we love and care. It's a very human sentiment, but as with any events in life, death can come in any time and any form. Not everybody can have such a luxury as to have a chance to prepare for it. But maybe, just maybe, when our connection and attachment is strong enough, we might get a chance to say one last goodbye to your family or friends. Today we are taking a look at such cases. Most of them are in the form of a precognitive dream, dreamt by a family member, but in some rare cases, spirits seem to appear in more physical manifestation too. So, here are 8 allegedly true stories from Korea about the dead coming back for the last goodbye. As always, handpicked, translated and narrated by your host, Anthony. I grew up among my mom's family when I was little. I got along well with all of them, but Uncle, Mom's younger brother, was my best friend. When a certain toy got popular and trendy among kids, he never failed to gift it to me. If I didn't come back home till late, he would be out on his motorbike around the town in search of me. But when I reached adulthood, he suffered a massive stroke. It rendered him unable to talk or move independently. It was a great shock to me to see once so sporty and active uncle in that state. One night I had a dream. I found myself in an entirely white world. In the middle of that world was a white bed, and on it was my uncle. He was sitting up by himself, which had become impossible since stroke, and had a gentle smile on his face. He looked healthy as he used to be. I went up to him and asked, "Uncle, you're all right now?" But he didn't say anything, and just looked at me, not losing the warm smile. I was happy to see him recovered, but at the same time felt a bit frustrated because he would not say anything to me. Following morning, I got a call from Mom before I went out for the day. "Your uncle passed away early in the morning," she said. I felt chills all over me. Not because I found it scary or creepy, but it somehow proved me that there was something in this world then that meets the eye. Since then, I believe in afterlife and spirits, and I believe my uncle came to me to say one last goodbye before he departed. Somebody left his short account of his own as comment to this story. I too have a similar experience. We had a neighbor who was close friend to my dad. One day Dad passed on the news that his friend collapsed unexpectedly and was hospitalized. He was a very fit guy, and honestly I believed he should recover soon. A few days later, I got a dream. I found myself in a funeral. My neighbor was there and was guzzling down rice and soup that was served typically to funeral guests. I approached and told him to slow down, but he didn't even give me a look and carried on till he finished his bowl of rice. And right that morning, I got a call from Dad that his friend passed away earlier in the dawn. Later I talked about the dream to his widow. She bursted into tears, saying, "I was so busy on the day he collapsed. I couldn't even feed him dinner. For those several days he was unconscious. It's been in my mind that how hungry he should be. And indeed he was.
I hope he had something at least, as in your dream, before he passed away.
I never really believed or indeed paid particular attention to paranormals, but this experience changed my mind. One day I took a nap at home. In the dream, I saw a woman who looked just like my mom but had a distinctively different vibe. She was working on the farming field. It was clearly a back-breaking work. The sun was mercilessly blazing on her. Under the crumpled straw hat, her face was wet with pouring sweat. Regardless, her bare hands never stopped to pick out rocks and dig out weeds. I just felt her hardship, the poverty, heavy weight of responsibility as a mom, will to survive, and physical pain of that moment. Tears sprung up in spite of myself while watching her on. It was the first time I woke up from a dream with tears. Even after I got up, somehow I could not shake off the pressing sense of sadness in my mind. Then I got a call from an unfamiliar number. It was my uncle, Mom's older brother.
"Your grandma just passed away. Get ready and come on over as soon as possible,"
he said. So, the woman who looked like my mother must have been my grandma as her younger self. We still often discuss about my dream when the family gathers, why she appeared particularly to me and what she might have had to say through that dream. My dad was a passionate hobby angler. One weekend when I was 3, he as usual headed off to a shore for a night fishing. Mom put me to bed and she herself went to bed, but she woke up in the middle of the night with a strange sense of foreboding. Time was passing 4 in the morning. From my parents' bedroom window, one could see the front door to the house, and she saw my dad standing there. Mom was surprised. She expected him back later in the morning. And why was he just standing there? Not to wake her and his son? In any case, she hurried to the front door to let him in. She took a second to check herself in the mirror in the hallway and found her hair all standing on ends. She was shocked, but quickly brushed them down and opened the front door. Dad wasn't there. Even before she could close the door, the telephone rang. It was one of Dad's fishing buddies, telling that my dad went missing and she should come down to the shore. When she got there, what met her was Dad's cold, dead body. Mom told me this only when I became an adult. She thinks Dad must have wanted to see her and me one last time before he went. While I served in the military, I once injured my knee and spent some time in the military hospital. And there, I had this dream. I found myself in my grandparents' place. The house in my memory was always crowded with relatives, but in the dream the house was empty. Not even the big old dog that always welcomed me when I came around. On the big open floor was sitting my grandma, who passed away 5 years prior. That was the first time she appeared in my dreams since she passed away. Next to her was my grandpa, resting his head on her knee. I was happy to see Grandma again and came up to them, but they hardly noticed me. Grandma, who was looking down on Grandpa's face on her knee, was smiling, but I sensed certain sadness in that smile. When I woke up from the dream, it was still dawn before the reveille. I felt a bit odd to see late Grandma with Grandpa in the dream and called my parents first thing the day started. I talked about the weird dream and asked if everything was fine with the family. Mom didn't answer for a few seconds and then told me my grandpa passed away the previous night. As far as I know, no other family member had such a dream before his passing. Grandma particularly adored me when she was alive, and I wonder she wanted to hint me about Grandpa's passing for that reason. That was the only time she ever appeared in my dreams so far, and I miss my grandparents dearly whenever I remember that dream. A story a fellow soldier told me during my military service. His father had 4 brothers. The youngest of the brothers suffered cerebral palsy, which rendered him difficult to speak and move. Although the brothers didn't want to take the burden of caring for the youngest, even though they were comfortably off. So my mate's father took it upon himself. Fortunately, his wife, my mate's mom, was sympathetic and did her best to take care of her brother-in-law. It was by all means not an easy task. He was often frustrated with his own situation and would often opt to temper tantrum and screams. But mate's mother remained caring towards him for years and on. One day she had a nap and had a dream. Her brother-in-law walked up to her, straight and nimble, like he didn't have cerebral palsy anymore. He was wearing a handsome suit and smiling bright. He then gave her a big formal bow and said, "I'm most grateful for you, sister. It's time I go now."
"Go? But where? I haven't fed you your dinner yet either,"
mate's mom said. But her brother-in-law silently gave her a smile and another bow, and with that, she woke up from the dream. She sensed a foreboding and called for her son, my mate, to go and check on his uncle quickly. When my mate opened the door, his uncle was lying straight on his back, already dead, with a faint smile on his face. During the New Year's holiday, I and my wife were visiting her parents. But on the second day of the holiday, her grandmother passed away and spent the rest of the holiday for funeral arrangements. It could all happen, except for one strange thing. The day before, my brother-in-law got up in the middle of the night to pee. On the way to the bathroom, he saw his mom sleeping in the living room. My in-laws offered me and my wife their bedroom as there was no guest room. And a figure of a woman with short white hair sitting next to his mom. brother-in-law was holding his phone then and shined a light from the screen. But the figure was still there. When, now panicking, he turned on the light of the living room, the figure disappeared. They discussed if the apparition could have been the grandmother because her health had been declining in recent months, but concluded it couldn't be because the grandmother kept her long hair. But later, they found out her hair was indeed cut short not long before her passing. It perhaps was really the soul of my wife's grandmother making us stop before she moved on. I don't know. My mom is a piano teacher. Two of her pupils are A and B. They were friends of the same 9 age and lived in the same apartment complex. It's the story A has told Mom. A had a dream one day. In it, a strange old man and woman just barged into A's flat. A was home alone. The old couple went to sit at the dining table without a word. The old man then said he was hungry. A, just a little girl, wasn't sure what she could offer, but came up with the idea of cooking an instant noodle. So the old man graciously finished a bowl of noodle while the old woman watched on in silence. The old man thanked A, and the couple started leaving. The old man said to A before he was gone, quite out of blue, "Be good with B." A just thought what a curious dream that was. She wanted to talk about it to her mom, but she just chased her to school that it was getting late. At the school, A found B didn't come to school that day. Apparently, B's grandfather passed the night before. Sometime later, while visiting B's flat, A happened to see B's family photo and recognized B's late grandfather was the very old man in a dream. How curious that he had to visit a friend of his granddaughter. But good of the little girl that she did serve the soul before he departed from this world. Hot midsummer in 1998. My cousin Min-sik, the first son of my oldest aunt, went on a holiday with his mates from uni. Their destination was a stream in the valley of a mountain. He told his parents he would be away for 3 days. 3 days passed, but he didn't come back home. On the 5th day since he left, his uni mates came to see my aunt, all in tears.
"We are sorry, Mrs. Kim. So sorry."
"What are you saying? Calm down and tell me what happened," Aunt said.
Minshik, it swept away in the stream and gone missing. Can't reach his phone either.
On the 2nd day of their holiday, young guys were all drunk and sprawled out in and around their tent by the stream. What woke them up in the middle of the night was the sound of raindrops drumming down on the tent and water sipping into the tent. The stream had swollen so much that their camping ground was flooded already. Still drunk, the boys hurriedly picked up what they could in the pitch dark and ran for the higher ground. Rain was keep pouring down, wind was high, and water was rising fast. And only then they realized Min-sik was missing, who was sleeping in the tent. They ran about and along the stream, crying out for him, but the thundering noise of the swollen stream simply drowned out any other sound. They managed to come down the mountain and make a report to the police. They hung around in the hope to find their body, but it was soon clear there wasn't much they could do. At which point, they came to see Min-suk's parents. What an unexpected disaster. The grown-up son who left with an excited smile on his face just 5 days ago. Gone missing without a trace. Aunt's family was devastated, but could not yet even lament and cry for the faint hope that Min-sik might be still alive. They couldn't accept it until he'd be found. Family went to see the valley and wandered around in the vague hope to come across any clue as where Min-suk might be. But all was in vain. A few weeks passed. By then any hope for Min-suk coming back home alive was gone, but nobody dared to say it out yet. Loss was terrible, but that there was no closure was even worse. Life had to carry on somehow. Aunt's husband was away for work, daughter still at her cram school, and aunt was home alone one evening. Another summer torrential rain was pouring down outside with thunder and heavy wind. Aunt double-checked if all the doors and windows closed and went to bed and had a dream. She saw her son, Min-suk, sleeping in a tent and then being swept away in the swollen water, struggling in the water and drowning down. Everything was so vivid, as if aunt were there, witnessing everything in real time. "No! Min-suk! Min-suk! My boy!" Aunt woke up with scream and tears. And just then, she came out to the living room for the noise of wind gushing in. The terrace door was flung open and rainstorm was raging in. Aunt hurriedly locked the door and turned around, to find this time the front door opened. Somebody must have broken in, she thought. Panicking, she hurried to the phone and then saw the door to Min-suk's room opened ajar, with the lights on inside. As she approached to check, she felt the floor slipperier than usual and found it wet. And it wasn't just water. They were wet, muddy footprints from the front door through the hallway to Min-suk's room. Aunt was sure it was an intruder and carefully peeped into her son's room. No sign of a person. She slowly walked in. The room had been tidied up, but now, under the turned-on desk lamp was Min-suk's textbook opened, and the desk chair was pulled out as if somebody sat there. And the whole area, the surface of the desk, book, and the chair were all wet with muddy water. Min-suk was never found, but my aunt still believes it was Min-suk's spirit that came to visit one last time on that mysterious night. Hi, it's Anthony here, and thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. As I mentioned several times before, I'm actually more a skeptic when it comes to paranormals. But I have to admit, it would make me feel better if we could get a chance to say proper goodbye, if, as a spirit, Not any way to change something or influence the living, but just to say thank and wish them well. Guess it's much to human sentiment there. And world doesn't run according to human perception, but one can always hope, can't one? Do you have any experience that you saw a dead family member or friend in a dream? Let me know in the comment. Not sure yet, but I think I'm going to carry on with a death and dream theme next week. We'll see. If you enjoyed my work, please give it a like and a comment, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Whether you enjoy a bit of spooky and bizarre, or specifically interested in Korean culture, I'm sure you can find something from my content. If you'd support me more directly, I also have a Buy Me a Coffee account. The link's in the description. Buy Me a Coffee supporters get an early access to my new video. Thank you. Until next Sunday, stay safe and take care.